The United States of America has launched truly massive strikes against Iran. A US submarine has sunk an Iranian warship in international waters. This was officially announced by Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth, who added that this is the first sinking of an enemy vessel by torpedo since World War II. And now a video of that very strike on the Iranian ship has already appeared online. Well, the footage is truly impressive. In addition, Trump's team reported that all Iranian ships in the Gulf of Oman have already been sunk, and the Strait of Hormuz is effectively coming under American control. US President Donald Trump has warned that the United States Navy will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, through which more than 20% of the world's oil supplies pass. And then suddenly there is a report that the Iranian intelligence is once again banned. Trump requested negotiations with the Americans in order to halt the war, but in America they refuse any contact, stating that the time for dialogue has been hopelessly lost. My name is Pechiy. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like this episode, and leave any comment under this video so that as many viewers as possible can see it. And subscribe to my Telegram channel Pechiy News. The link to it is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So, in this footage, a United States submarine strikes with a torpedo and sinks an Iranian warship in international waters. This was stated by the head of the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, who added that this is indeed the first sinking of an enemy vessel by a torpedo since World War II. Next, I'll quote him. The American submarine sank an Iranian warship that believed it was safe in international waters. The American submarine sank it with a torpedo. Hegseth also stated that the American military sank what he called Iran's prize ship named Soleimani, named after former Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, who was killed by American forces during Donald Trump's first presidential term. And another quote from him, "I think the US president killed him twice, but meaning Soleimani, first him and now his ship as well." By the way, interesting, isn't it? Pete Hegseth also stated that the leader of the Iranian unit that tried to assassinate President Trump was tracked down and killed. And right away, Hegseth added, quote, "The killing of the Iranian leader Qasem Soleimani were by no means the main target of these efforts. But if we had the opportunity to get to those who are trying to harm Americans, we would do it again." Iran tried to kill President Trump, but in the end, President Trump had the last laugh. Let me remind you that the US Department of Justice stated that in 2024, a certain individual was tasked with carrying out an Iranian plot to assassinate Trump, but neither of the two other attempts to attack Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, where his ear was shot, and at his golf course in Florida, were directly connected to Iran. In 2022, the US Department of Justice also announced charges related to an alleged Iranian plot to assassinate John Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor. And one of the, let's say, driving forces behind the maximum pressure campaign on Iran, in other words, Bolton was actually a supporter of the idea that Iran needed to be crushed. But let's get back to the Iranian warships. So, earlier, the media reported that an Iranian warship sank off the coast of Sri Lanka and 32 people were rescued from it. At the same time, it's kind of like this. Some Reuters sources reported that the cause of the sinking was actually a submarine attack, but in Sri Lanka, this information was denied, saying that there was no submarine there. Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Vijitha Herath informed Parliament that the sunken ship was identified as Iris Dana, which definitely belongs to Iran. Since 2023, the vessel has been under US sanctions. And I want to emphasize, this was a civilian vessel that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps converted for launching drones. That is, a deck similar to an aircraft carrier was built on it, but not to carry airplanes, but to carry, well, lighter drones. A day earlier, the US also stated that the American Navy had destroyed all Iranian warships located in the Gulf of Oman. The United States Central Command in the Middle East made the following statement, quote, "2 days ago, the Iranian regime had 11 ships in the Gulf of Oman. Today, there are none. For decades, the Iranian regime has harassed and attacked international shipping in the Gulf of Oman. Those days are over. Freedom of maritime navigation has been the foundation of America's and the world's economic prosperity. For over 80 years, American forces will continue to protect it." America has a large naval group stationed in the Arabian Sea near the Gulf of Oman. The group includes the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, 7 carriers equipped with Tomahawk cruise missiles and Standard missile anti-missiles, as well as 2 littoral combat ships. Well, obviously now there's definitely a submarine there as well. As a result, the US announced that now they are fully responsible for the Strait of Hormuz. US President Donald Trump warned that soon, if necessary, the United States Navy may begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. Let me remind you, more than 20% of the world's oil supplies pass through it. Trump also stated that he instructed the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation to provide insurance and financial guarantees for all maritime trade in the Persian Gulf region. In other words, he says that we are taking on all the risks. Right now, this is most relevant for oil tankers. At the same time, according to the US president, these services will be available to all shipping companies. And now I'll quote Trump, "If necessary, the US Navy will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz as soon as possible." Regardless of the circumstances, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy in the world. It is also worth noting that Iran struck at least 7 American targets, located in the territory of 5 Middle Eastern countries. This is confirmed by satellite images obtained by the New York Times. According to the publication's assessment, the goal was to disrupt the communication and coordination of American forces. Damage has been recorded at several bases. In particular, in Bahrain, a radar dome at the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet in Manama was damaged. In Qatar, tents and satellite antennas at the airbase. Al-Udeid, это, кстати, крупнейшая база США. In Kuwait, radar domes at Camp Arifjan Base and facilities near communication nodes at Ali al-Salem Air Base. In Saudi Arabia, a building next to a radar dome at Prince Sultan Air Base was damaged. In the United Arab Emirates, several structures at a base near Al Ruwais, next to the Ali al-Salem radar, were affected, and TPY-2 as well as facilities to the east of Al Dhafra Air Base. It is also reported that in Qatar, some kind of super radar worth $1 billion was damaged. There are also reports of damage at other American facilities in Dubai, Iraq, Kuwait, and Jordan. However, they are not directly related to communication infrastructure. Nevertheless, despite such strikes, concern is growing in Iran about the ability to sustain a prolonged war. In particular, it was recently reported that the Council of Ayatollahs of Iran has chosen the son of the late Ali Khamenei, Mojtaba Khamenei, as the next supreme leader of the country. Interestingly, the Iran International TV channel noted that this happened, quote, under pressure from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And this tells us that it was the militants who took power into their own hands. But Israel has already stated that any new leader appointed by the Iranian regime will be a target for elimination. This warning was made public by Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz. Quote, any leader appointed by the Iranian terrorist regime to continue implementing the plan to destroy Israel, threaten the United States, the free world, and countries in the region, as well as suppress the Iranian people, will definitely be targeted. A direct target for elimination, no matter what his name is or where he is hiding. We will continue to act with full force together with our American partners to destroy the regime's capabilities and create conditions for the Iranian people to overthrow and replace it. And now Reuters sources report that representatives of the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence have expressed their willingness to negotiate with the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency about ending the war. But officials in Washington are skeptical about whether Iran or the Donald Trump administration are truly ready to exit the conflict. Well, at least in the short term. Trump, let me remind you, said on Tuesday that Tehran would like to negotiate, but it's already too late since the US is continuing its military operation. So I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you found this episode interesting and useful, I would appreciate any support for our channel's work. You can support us with your donation or a paid subscription using the links and details in the description of this video or by scanning the QR code on your screen. That's it for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.